To open up the meeting of public, excuse me, what is this called? A special board meeting for public comment on the 2016 amended budget and the 2017 proposed budget for Van Buren Township. The meeting is called to order at 7:01. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I get a roll call, clerk?
Yes. Drum roll.
Okay.
Trustee White. Here. Trustee Miller.
Here.
Trustee Martin.
Here.
Trustee Frazier.
Here.
Trustee Treasurer Bud.
Here.
Clerk Wright. Here. Supervisor McNair.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. All right. I need a motion to approve the current agenda as it stands.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Treasurer Bud, supported by Trustee Miller. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're going to, during the public meeting today, we're going to be receiving public comment on the 2016 amended general fund budget and the 2017 proposed general fund budget. We will also hear public comment on special revenue funds, including the Community Development Block Grant, the DDA, the LDFA, the landfill fund, the Belleville Area Museum, the 911 Service Fund, the Federal Forfeiture Fund, the State Forfeiture Fund, and the 2017 proposed salary schedule. Before I begin, I believe Trustee White would like to say a word.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. As everyone knows, November the 20th, we had 4 new people to come to this board. And one of those people was our new supervisor, McNamara. Putting the budget together with the help of all of the directors, our new supervisor has done a fantastic job of assembling everything, getting it printed, and getting it out to all the 4 new trustees. I want to commend him for achieving that in such a timely fashion. I also want to commend, on his behalf and the rest of the behalf of the board, all of the directors who helped put this budget together for presenting and giving us their narratives and their budgets in a single fashion, mostly so that the trustees could understand readily without having to look at 6 or 7 different types there. The format which the supervisor requested from the directors is in a very, very readable format, and it will help all the trustees to know and understand what we are looking at. So thank you, Mr. Supervisor. We appreciate that.
Thank you. I'm used to that. Thanks. Okay, let's go into public, open a public hearing. We need to get a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee White.
Support.
Supported by Clerk Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I can do that based on a voice vote, can't I?
Yes.
Yes, I can. Okay, motion passes. We are now in public hearing. I'm going to give a quick overview of this mostly for probably the television audience out there. Basically, we have 1 mil of taxes for general operations here. It will raise $800,000 to run Van Buren Township government. Next year, we will only get 4 mils for public safety. The 6.5 mils doesn't kick in until the next year. That will raise less than $4 million. The police budget is 8.3. That money will be covered by the addition of some state revenue money and the landfill money and some of our savings account to cover the police department. General operations will be running pretty much on their own revenue, revenues from Parks and Recreation, from community development funds like permits, fees, fines, and such like that. Long story short, though, is we have total revenues after all additions of $10.6 million, and we have a total budget of $15.5 million. This is maintaining current operations. We've had 3 years of retroactive police contracts hit us this year. They're moving forward. We are not growing almost any departments. I think we've increased maybe 3 employees in the entire township. There's not really a great growth here. Pretty much it's a flatline budget with a lot of increase in fringes because of the fact that we've got a lot of increase in healthcare costs, pensions, and other obligations. That's going to be the challenge for every municipality going forward. I am going to ask, before we open it up to public comment, if anybody in the board has anything that they would like to bring up, comments regarding this budget. We've already had our long discussions about it, so I hope that these would just be comments for the audience. Does anybody?
Well, I'd just like to say that it's been a challenging process to have a budget dropped on us or at the last week. And I appreciate also, as Mr. White stated, all the departments and the directors getting their information to us, and Supervisor McNamara's getting the information to us readily. We had a lively discussion yesterday at the work study for over 3 hours. And I think we did a good job of expressing concerns or questions, getting our questions answered. And I see that Leanne and Dan have provided us with additional information that Supervisor McNamara requested for us, and they did get it to us, the questions that we had. And I appreciate that, but this has been a challenge for me, I'm just saying. And I've been on other boards before, and I've dealt with budgets, and trying to get my head around exactly how this budget was determined has not been an easy task for me. But I think yesterday I did glean some information that helps me understand more of what went on in putting a budget like this together. Whether I agree with that or not, I'm not sure, but I'd like to hear public comment, and I'd like to hear from the community input, because that's important, because after all, we are stewards of the taxpayers, and it's our job as trustees and elected officials to make the best decisions possible regarding the amount of money we have to work with. And I know that everybody on the board agrees that we need to move the township forward, and it's going to be a challenge, but that we can do it and that we'll be better for it.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Supervisor. Trustee White?
As Trustee Brazier just mentioned, this budget is going to be a huge challenge for this board. For example, our total revenues in 2014 were $10.4 million, in 2015 $11.4 million, in the 16 budget $11.3 million, with a 16 amended at $10.8 million, and the 17 proposed at $10.6 million. So the revenue has remained basically stagnant over the last several years. However, the expenditures have sort of increased over the years, and this 2017 proposed budget is showing a shortfall of $4.87 million, and that shortfall will have to come out of the landfill fund, and it's going to put the landfill fund in probably one of the lowest total amounts in several years. So we all need to be cognizant, and we all need to be aware of the situation that we're facing. It's not dire, but it needs to have outstanding oversight and management to make sure that when the new budget comes out next September, that we're in great shape. Thank you, Supervisor. Anything else?
I guess it's our time to speak, which, I see a couple of public comments that may come from the audience, but
That's
I would just
okay.
like to say in response to, and you guys know, I said the same thing last night. I totally disagree on the way the forecast, how we forecast the revenues out, showing that we have a deficit. I think it basically shows a deficit because we don't report landfill fund tipping fees as revenue. And everyone I talk to, I can't get any kind of significant answer to tell me that it's not to be considered as revenue. My problem with this is that I passed out information that you just, as an example of what I'm talking about to everyone. And if anybody want to follow me, there's copies on the podium over there also of a budget that would show what it would look like if you include the landfill tipping fees and the grants included as revenue. Of course, without that, it shows us a significant deficit. But if you show the revenues of the landfill fund, which it is a revenue that we use to balance the budget, no matter how you use it, we balance the budget, and always have, by using landfill tipping fee, the monies that's coming in that year. What we have in fund balance is totally separate. And if you look at the chart that I showed you, you can balance the budget without being in a deficit going forward, without using the significant amount of the landfill our fund balance. True enough, they've always been used, but if you see forecasts out, we show you will have to balance the budget in 2017. You will have to take a small amount from fund balance to balance the budget, approximately $321,000. But the reason why we advocated for the landfill, for the increase in the revenue for public safety, is because there was a shortfall for public safety. We was dipping into too far into the landfill tipping fee to pay for public safety. We couldn't go forward balancing the budget like that. That's why we went to the public and asked for that. Now, in 2018 shows projected, when you start receiving those funds, it shows that we have a balanced budget with a significant income in the black. We're not in the red anymore, which gives us the opportunity to take those funds and use it to pay for other obligations that's going to come for 2018 and beyond. That's what's the goal. That was the entire goal. I've always been an advocate of showing the revenues. How can we tell the public that we have a landfill that produce fund and that's significant if we can't show the worthiness of the landfill? Landfills is going to produce about $3.5 million in revenue this year. If you see the revenue through October, we have November, December yet to come in. Even at an average, we're going to be at about $3.5 million for the year. It's going to be a significant year, but we're not going to use that going forward. We're going to stay on the average, which is 3.2. Looking at that, we do not work in a deficit. We're actually working.
Not this year, not the
Well,
2017 year.
But historically, we have always used landfill fund to balance the budget, and I have data goes back. We've always balanced the budget. I had my accounting clerk pull the numbers all the way back from 2008, and it shows from 2008 forward. Well, in 2011, we talked about last night, we start showing a balance in the black going forward. We amend the budget. If you look at the numbers, you'll see the amended numbers, and you'll see the balance. You'll see the actual numbers. They have increased every year. The amended versus the actual has increased every year. There's a reason why we have, the audit shows a $9 million shortfall in 14 and an increase of a $1 million in 15. You cannot increase your fund balance by operating in the red. It just can't happen. if you operate in the red, there's no possible way you can increase your fund balance.
But we're talking, all right, but if we consider this year, the year 2017 that we're dealing with right now,
But the way we show it, we show a significant operation that we're in the red. We're not.
I agree with,
It's a
Clerk
false
Wright.
it's a false indication. I agree that we're in the red, but we're not in the
Okay, we're
red
in
of
the red. Okay, I just want to make sure.
$4.37 million.
Yeah, I think that people voted for a millage because they thought that we were going to be falling into the red.
We are.
We are in the red.
We are, but we're
Even
gonna
when you add
be,
in every single solitary fund we have, we are in the red and spending money that we have saved up over the years.
right, but we will
through
take,
excesses.
well, we will only need $321,000 to balance the budget versus,
No, you need $1,099,000 for 2017.
that's because you're not showing your revenue. That's what I just said.
No, you
No,
did.
you did.
Yeah, you
It's in
did.
there.
It's all in here.
It's in there.
It's all in here now.
I'm sure. if
You're
you
right
show-
on it. You're right on the past
no, if you-
years.
If you show 17, I'm talking right here. This is 17.
Yeah.
The last sheet.
well, I think it's.
You're in the, you're still in the red.
Still in the
That's what I'm saying. I say you're gonna
How
need
much
$321,000 from your fund balance to
By
balance the
putting
budget, not 1 million or something.
But really, I agree with Clerk Wright, and that's what I asked yesterday at the table was why the landfill is a revenue stream for the township. And it should be included in revenue, and then I asked why it wasn't, and that's because it was done, you know, some different way at a certain point. And to me, it's not giving the true value of the township to the taxpayer, because we do get revenue from the landfill, so why isn't it included
Okay.
in our revenue?
Hold on. First of all, Gatsby's going to clear this up. Our accountants are going to tell us whether we have to cover it or not. I believe that you are right.
Gasme has already
Okay.
said that.
Then we are going to put it into the books the way it's supposed to be done. So I believe you're right, and I believe you're right, and I think you've mentioned that it should be added in, it should be right. I think almost everybody here has said it should be done. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be done.
I agree with you.
On the other side of it is, really has nothing to do with our budget today, does it?
It don't have anything to do with, the only thing
Okay.
it's showing is a false, the budget not today is showing a false allocation that what we need. It's saying that we need,
let's
It's like
make
this-
no stop. So let's be very clear though, because I don't think
We
people,
do.
I think people out there think that they should approve a millage increase where we've got surplus money.
No.
We are spending that surplus, and we are going and spending the old surplus that we banked to get to the point where we're gonna start getting that tax, where we can start continuing operations. We are spending, we are deficit spending, because we collect $4 million for police, and currently we spend $8.3 million. We collect $1 million in taxes to run general operations. We get $2.3 million from the state of Michigan that we get to use to can maintain our operations here. Everything else is based on fees, and permits, or things that basically, if we're not in business, we don't get. So if you close down the recreation department, you actually close down a revenue stream. If you close down the buildings department, you close down another revenue stream. If you close down every department but police and fire, you will have an $8.3 million budget. You won't, and you will have, you will only have $4 or $5 million total. So you'll still be $3.3 million short, which is what the landfills bring in.
right, that's what I'm saying. The only thing I'm saying is showing the value of the landfill. If you show the value, it doesn't show that significant
Okay,
shortfall.
so
That's
let's
what
talk
we-
about that
that's
in the
what we-
future,
what we're
not
predicting.
today, if that's
Supervisor,
okay.
please.
Yes.
I'm looking at the budget as it was presented, and it shows excess of expenditures over revenues in the amount of $4.878 million.
Right.
And our landfill fund generates about 3.2 to 3.5 a year. So if it
Right.
generates 3.5, we're going to be $1.3 million still short, and we'll have to dip into general fund and general fund balances.
Absolutely.
Fortunately, we have enough money in general fund to do that. But if we continue to do this in the future, then we're going to be up the creek.
But, Paul, what I'm saying is that it's not showing
I
all
do
the
understand,
allocations. No, you're
Leon.
not.
I most
You-
definitely understand,
Well,
because
let me
I'm
finish.
looking at the figures
The
that are right
grants
here right
is not in there
now, okay?
neither, but you forget about the grants also.
No,
We
they're
gotta-
in
The
there.
grants are all in here. The total revenues that we have on the 17 proposed is $10,628,000.
The grants are
$10
not in
million,
there.
and we're spending $15,506,000.
Okay,
That's
hold
a
on.
shortage of $4.87 million.
We are getting way off
Okay.
what this, what we're here for, okay?
Yeah, I
The
just.
supervisor
I
gets
just
to
wanted
set,
bring
gets
that
to set the
forward,
budget,
that's
the supervisor has set the budget in the format it is, it's currently in.
Okay,
That's about the only thing I got clout
But
on.
I think we need to come back to this issue that Clerk Wright brought up.
Tell you what,
that
I tell you
we
what,
need to
I tell you what, I'm gonna teach you,
have the
there's a thing called a
revenues.
budgetary instruction. And we can put this in, and I will make sure it's added. And we will have a budgetary instruction that by, say, June, we have a GASB order, a GASB accounting recommendation as to how to treat the landfill funds. And I will make that presentation to the board at your request in this budget.
Through the
Budgets
chair.
don't have to be all numbers, they can
Through
be
the chair.
requests.
My indication wasn't to attempt to change the budget format to adopt going forward
Okay.
to this year. My indication was to stop providing false information to my constituents. And I'm not gonna sit here and continue to provide false information. If I think that it's wrong, I'm gonna continue to say that it's wrong. That's just my opinion. And I'm not advocating for no one else's opinion, I'm just
Sure.
saying that's my opinion. But I
Secretary,
think
did you
it's
make
wrong- it's wrong.
notification of that budgetary request for an accounting
Through the chair,
report?
why don't we tell the audience why it was set up this way to begin with?
I don't know.
What's the history on it?
I
Why
have
was
no
it done
idea
that
why it
way?
was set up this way.
I don't think none of us know that.
Well,
Someone has to know.
Sherry would know, I mean, the treasurer would know, wouldn't she?
It was originally set up to be money that went into a landfill account that was not to be used. The intent was not to support the general fund budget with that money. It was to do projects. And if you look at back when it was first started, that's what we did. We spent over $8,000 for radio systems. I mean, I can show you the chart I've got. And we did projects. And then around 8, we had to start using some, but it was never what was intended. And it was always treated as a special revenue fund because it has a life cycle when it's going to end. So that's why it was set up that way. 2 years ago, the auditor said it wasn't a special revenue fund, but to keep it out of the general fund, it was allowed to be kept as it's on paper, a special fund, but the general fund also was separate, so we knew exactly what the general fund was taking in and what was getting spent. However, they always showed it combined on the balance sheet. If you look at the audit, which is what you got a copy of, it was shown as combined with the general fund in one spot, but then back when it gave the detail, once again, it was pulled out and separated so people keep track of what that money was. And if you look at this, right now, it's been added in, which is fine, but the expenditures haven't changed, and there's almost $500,000 that has to come out of that to pay for the bonds to build the fire station on Hull Road, and also for the property next door that the township built. So, right, the money will come in, but the expenditures have to come in, so you're looking at maybe $500,000 that has to come added to these expenditures if you combine that. But there again, that's a board's decision, but that is why it was started, and that's why it's never been combined.
One final comment.
Go ahead.
Correct. I can show back to
No.
2002 when it's been used.
The EQ tipping fees are included in the general revenue.
The EQ
We obviously
tipping fees are-
have a problem with these tipping fees, and they need to be better reported, I believe. But we're gonna get a professional opinion on this, and bring it forward to the board to make that determination. You made a good point, but it's time to move on.
I'm agree,
Okay.
but the last point,
Okay?
I can show records that the budget has been balanced by the landfill tipping fees since 2002. As far as I can go back in the books. because-
2002?
Because the books won't allow me to go no further than that. But I can show that since 2002, that the budget has been balanced off the backs of the landfill fund. And I don't know when it was allocated to say that it was gonna do special projects, but I can show, in 1994, the Public Safety Committee allocated money to be used for public safety.
On the last comment,
Well, I'd just like to remind everybody that we have a pension shortfall, and we have the Visteon question facing us. So it's not like we are, you know, out of the woods. We still have pension shortfall, Visteon, and we've got to oversee our money the best we can.
What's the pension shortfall, Supervisor, if you would, please?
Which pension shortfall?
I'm sorry.
We have a medical one and we have a straight.
Healthcare, the healthcare
The
shortfall.
healthcare?
Retired
Last I
healthcare.
saw was 11 million, but it could be as high as 15, but as low as 9.
Right, so I think we're in deficit, some 11 million. When I was in office, and I heard that it was up to 14 or 15 now, so.
That's not the one to be afraid of.
I just loaded that
I don't
question.
Visteon's the one to be afraid of. Okay, we're moving on, okay? I gave you guys, we had yesterday to have a nice board meeting. We had a great meeting, three and a half hours, probably an hour and a half before and an hour and a half after. So, we're moving on. Questions or comments from the audience? Are there any? No? Okay. I'm gonna ask 3 times. Questions or comments from the audience? Questions or comments from the audience? No. Hearing none, I'm going to call for, to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
The moved and supported, moved by Treasurer Bud and supported by Trustee Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Going back into session? Do I need to do another one to go back into session?
Nope.
Good, okay. All right, are there any correspondence? Secretary, any correspondence? You wrote this. All right, is there any additional public comment on the meeting? No? Okay. Is there any new business from the trustees? No? All right, we have no unfinished business, and we have no new business?
No.
I think we're down to the end of it, aren't we?
Well, new business would be, in the future, I would just like, and I mentioned this to several directors, that we should have an orientation. I know that new members on the school board, it's a new day in Van Buren Township. We have 3, we have 2 new members, and these people are experienced, or 3 new ones. And, you know, it would be helpful if we were given a little orientation and brought in to have a tour of the building and maybe, you know, take up a few of the director's time, and we could have come in together and gone through a few things. I know that we do that now for the school board, new school board members, and it's very helpful, and it makes people feel, you know, more oriented to what they're supposed to do. and
We are
things.
still planning on doing that. The
Okay.
problem we had was a process that was supposed to start in August and be completed, well, this week. We started 7 days ago.
Right.
So, and our people have been going from 7:30 till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, every night. I know we worked Thanksgiving morning, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and a lot of you came in and worked on that those days too with me. So, we've been doing a lot.
Through the chair.
Sorry.
I also want to suggest that the new officials take the MTA, Michigan Township Association, new officials, elected officials class. There's one in Ann Arbor, January 20th. That was very beneficial for me. And also take any budgeting class that's offered coming up. Their conference is in April, I think it's April 10th,
Yes,
and they offer it there.
thanks.
Yeah. We'll send a schedule out, the clerk, we'll send a schedule out for the MTA conference. And they have what they call new officials,
Yes,
sessions
new
that starts
officials.
in January. We'll send those out also, and you can choose one that's available for you. They have it in different areas, and you can choose what convenience for you to go to. But I would think, I'll just make this last comment regarding, I said it last night, regarding the budget. I know it's been legendary here, or whatever, because that's been the way of business here is that, and especially in the election year, that the new board comes on and vote on a budget. Actually, if you think about it, and that's why I want you to do, just think about it. It's crazy. because you just admitted it's a crazy process. The budget should have been done and voted on, and it should have been in place when you came in office. I think if you do the reference, most other places do that, and it's put in place by September, October, and it's ready for you when you come in. It would be enormous for anybody to do is to come in and take a budget and go through what we went through this year, and try to figure out what's wrong and what's the wrong thing to do, and not knowing the history of it, and try to add some input. So I would recommend that we think about that. We got 4 years to think about it going forward. So,
I think the budgeting process, Supervisor, please, is that the directors are supposed to present to the supervisor 150 days before the first of the year.
Yeah.
The supervisor is supposed to have public hearings of somewhere in the vicinity of 120, anywhere from 100 to 120 days for the end of the year, which would be in October. And at that point, that gives them time to
That's what I said.
go through it and correct the budget, do anything that they want to do. And it says the budget should be voted on by December 15th. And that was the recommendation. And this board here is plenty intelligent enough, plenty smart enough, and has plenty enough experience in the public world. I'm looking at 3 new employees plus myself, and they know and understand. They will comprehend this in a very short period of time and move forward with it. Also, if there's issues, we can come back in the early spring and look at those issues and amend this budget. We can amend this budget 2, 3, 4 times, whatever is necessary. So please don't have a shortfall for the new employees saying that the budget should have been done when we come in. I understand why that is, but it's been historical that
I'm
the
just saying in
budget
most
is-
places,
I'm
Paul.
sorry, the
That's it.
budget is left for new employees when they come in, I'm sorry, new elected officials when they come, because it is best for them to know and understand how this budget works, how it's put together, how much money is in there, and how we can move forward and manage this budget in a proficient way. We are spending taxpayers' dollars, and that's very important. Every penny we spend is taxpayers' dollars in one form or another. I don't care what the landfill says or what EQ says or anything else. It's still a part because we have to put up with it. We are responsible for getting the best bang for that buck that we possibly can. Thank you, Supervisor.
Through the chair,
I think we all agree to that.
through the
Just
chair,
a minute,
there
Laura.
is a schedule that MTA recommends that you follow for the whole year of what to do each month to prepare for that budget well in advance. We always
Yeah.
get down to the wire here,
Right.
and I'm uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm saying, that we stick to the
I think
schedule.
that was your
Yeah.
point.
If somebody told me that Van Buren Township never wins an award for putting together a budget, I'm not saying we're gonna win next year, but I hope to produce some kind of a document that's meaningful enough and insightful enough that we actually could submit it to see if it can. Each department next year is gonna have an organizational chart. You're gonna have a manning chart for every department. We're not gonna be saying 1.5 persons here or 1.5 persons there, because we're looking at fringes, trying to mathematically divide them out to figure out how many people populate that department. How many part-timers are you running? How many hours are you running? These are not difficult things to put into a budget, and they're in most budgets you see. We're gonna have all those things. I actually had to run with my credit card down to Office Max or in Canton and buy these folders. That's how bad it was for putting a budget around here together. And we're gonna produce a good, strong document next year.
I also like to
That's
thank
part of
the
it.
candidates.
Well, that's, the reason you have all these folders and stuff was
Mm-hmm.
because we had went paperless about a year ago. And we was trying to get away from reducing all this paper. That's the reason why you probably didn't have all those
Yes.
tablets and stuff.
Budgets
Because
are
we
pretty
bought
tough to
these,
do paperless.
we bought the iPads and we went paperless.
Yeah.
We
Everything
tried to
but
get
this.
away from it.
Budgets
This
are
is
pretty
too
tough
much.
to do.
But
paperless.
the budgets,
Hey, I like paper.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna,
But
all
I
right.
wanted to make one comment. Back in October, I invited the candidates to come and not participate, but sit in and listen to the budget hearings. And I appreciate Paul and Sherry and Kevin who did that. I think it made a difference. You had a better understanding. And even though this was tough, I thought it was an improvement over the last 4 years. So I have to commend the supervisor.
Thank you. Everybody.
Yeah.
That was everybody.
And just one other thing, I think at the holiday time, it's not the best time to hold public hearings on a budget because everybody's busy on that. So if we could move it up a month, it would be
Even more.
helpful. And I'm sure that we will.
Happy to do it.
We will, that'll be our goal and we'll do it. Because we should encourage the community to come forth and give us their thoughts, their comments, and we should be soliciting them on our website, on our Facebook, or whatever, avenues we choose.
In light of those comments, I'm going to start closing down this and go to announcements. Our next meeting is going to be next week. We'll have a board workshop on Monday. That will be pretty much the last time that you guys can get comment in, the public comment. Hopefully on Tuesday, we will have a decision as to what budget we are going to pass. We at that time can pass it. Should we not be able to pass it, we do have a fallback time, which will be 2 weeks from then on the 20th. Should that not pass at that time, we will sit in here 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th, and 31st, whatever it takes. We will have a budget by the 31st at midnight. Okay.
That's a requirement.
Slow.
All right. We do have one other issue that's going to be coming up, and I'm going to get out paperwork to you. It appears that DUA, which is the Downriver.
Utility Wastewater Authority.
Thank you. DUA has made an offer to the city, the county of Wayne, for the consortium of 17 communities to purchase the Wyandotte Wayne County wastewater treatment plant. We would, in effect, become a 5% owner. The question to this board is, do you want to become a 5% owner? As people have put it to us, if you're not an owner, you're still going to use them, and then they're just going to charge you. But, maybe we're better off being charged if we don't have the liability. It's up to you. It's your decisions, and I will give you the information to make that decision.
What's causing this kind of change? Because Wyandotte has always provided their own water, electric.
No, that'd be the city of Wyandotte. This plant is right next door to Wyandotte. It's Wayne County owns it. They have operated for years. They've done a wonderful job. But the long story short is Wayne County got in trouble. They need the cash, and they could sell it to Veolia for a couple $100 million, or they could sell it to us for $50 million.
So it's a break-off?
And if they try to sell it to Veolia for a couple $100 million, we will all be sitting in Lansing talking to our state representatives, and we probably could get it for $1. So they're not going to do that. The state of Michigan basically said if you cut a fair deal to the communities, us, they will let them, Wayne County, sell it to us.
Do you know about how much that costs?
I believe it's $50 million. Our cut would be 5% of that. It would be financed entirely by sewer bonds. The sewer bond revenue supposedly by getting out from underneath Wayne County's heightened bond. They have a bad bond rating. Supposedly, there's enough money there to cover that cost. I don't know that any of this is true yet, because I just got the paperwork 2 days ago. Yes.
Supervisor, the Downriver Utility Wastewater Authority, I was vice chair on that for 3 years.
Probably know more about than I do.
Yeah, for 3 years when I sat as supervisor. The board at that time of the DUWA was outstanding because there were a couple of mayors on there and myself and a couple of water and sewer directors, very knowledgeable people, and we had a long-term consultant working with us, and if we were only going to pay $2.5 million for that, but then we'll probably still have to pay a fee, a sewage fee.
We'll still have to pay a fee.
Yes.
Just like we
yes.
as a customer.
Right, as we are now. So our total investment would be 2.5, but if that is run properly, then maybe we can be able to lower the sewer fees that every community is charged, because we won't have the excessive overhead as we go there. What I would like to see is when that's presented to us is exactly how much money each community is going to invest, what it's going to cost us, and Sherry, I'm sorry, Treasurer Bud, would we have to get a bond for that since we have the money in the
We will become signatories to everybody else's
We'll
bond.
become, Right, it would be, I'm sure they would create an authority, just like South Huron Valley. South Huron Valley would float the bonds, and then everybody else would pay whatever their share was.
But the money
That's
that
how
we
that
have
would work.
currently in the sewer for the environmental uses, that couldn't be used for that?
And depending on what it was, if there was enough fund balance so you could pay up front, you could do that. But more than likely, there wouldn't be enough to pay that up front, so we would probably join in with the bond issue with the other communities.
Yeah, and the authority is already there. The authority was formed when I was in office. That's what the DUWA is.
Right, but it has never been, Wayne County has yet to turn that authority,
Over.
it's not given the power to that authority to do anything. So that's what has to happen.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, and they would like us to make a decision by January 1st. I've informed them that it's probably too short a time for us to make that decision. But I work for the board, and the board is going to have the information if you determine that it's a no-brainer, that you guys really want to get involved in this right now fast.
What
Well,
part
can
of
we
the
get the
budget is
information?
it in?
It's not in the budget.
The information just came in 2 days ago.
Okay, we wouldn't be putting anything in the budget to cover this because of the bonds and,
No, this would be, this would be a zero budget impact item.
okay.
Well, yeah.
General budget, zero budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who-
The water and sewer budget.
Yeah.
Who operates this?
It would be operated by the new authority that we would own 5% of.
But we wouldn't have any employees there or anything. They would,
No? No, we would not.
Through the chair. Maybe I could help a little bit with South Huron Valley. This is what the waste treatment plant in Brownstown did. It was a Wayne County facility, which the 7 communities that are involved decided they could take it over and run it cheaper than the county was running it, which proved that we could do that. And so actually we had to sue to get it away from the county, but now the county wants us to take on this other project. Well, anyway, the short story is we did do that. So the 7 communities meet once a month. We subcontracted the running of that plant out to a utility company, and they run that plant, and that has been effective.
okay,
That's exactly what they're planning to do with this, privately run.
great. Anything that saves money, that's great.
Wayne County needs the money.
Well, obviously.
I guess the part that kind of bothers me is the cost, because we paid for those bonds to build that system originally.
We paid for it, they own it. I've seen too much, I've been an ex-Wayne County guy. What is it, owner, possession is 9/10? They got it, it's theirs.
I understand that, but in all the communities,
know.
their comments have
I
always
know.
been, we paid for it. We've been paying these bonds from day one since they started, and now they want us to pay.
And now they want us to pay again?
And listen, there are 17 communities that have been screaming that same thing, and they're very
Yeah.
powerful communities. They're Dearborn Heights, 100,000 people here, 80,000 people
Yeah.
there, plenty of cash in the bank, very, very able to sue the heck out of anybody they want, and they know they're going to lose this war, so they would rather buy it. So,
You have any more?
I have nothing else. Are there any announcements from any of the members of the board?
I have one.
Besides maybe happy holidays? Go
I
ahead.
have one.
But
Well, it's not, we do happy holidays later. I'd like to take this time to thank Bob and Marie Kraus on behalf of myself and the entire community. They place flags on our cemetery and honors our veterans. Bob and Marie have dedicated themselves in maintaining the flags and on all the veteran graves in our community for the last 2 decades. And I do want to take this opportunity to thank them again.
thank you. Hearing nothing else, may I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by White, supported by Miller. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.